Yo, what's going on, man? Top of the morning to the gambling gang, to everybody that's here early on a Thursday morning. We're getting a little rain in Virginia, but it's all good, man. This is another episode of Cashed It with Chris, the NBA betting podcast slash show. I say it all the time, but be sure to check out the Basketball Forever Podcast Network. Bunch of different podcasts over there. Everything surrounding basketball, of course. So, bunch of guys over there making great content on all different kind of basketball categories. I just so happen to run the gambling part, man. So check out the guys over there. Follow the Basketball Forever Podcast Network on their social media platforms as well. Also, check out the podcast, man. The Cashed It with Chris podcast, especially if you've been cashing with Chris. Check out the podcast, man. Available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday via all of your, podcast streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's available on all the podcasts. So check out the podcast. Leave me a review too. That would be greatly appreciated. And let's get into the slate today, man. Real quick, before we do that, as always, good days, bad days. Got to do a recap. Yesterday just so happened to be a pretty good day, so we'll take that. We'll definitely take that. Should have been a better day. If you listened in yesterday morning, I didn't give out any officials yesterday morning. Um, I didn't give out any officials yesterday morning on the show. I wanted to take a deeper dive on some of the plays, and when I get the opportunity, it typically is a pretty good day. Yesterday, 5-2 day. Toronto first half minus the 2.5. Sweaty one, even though they had a 14-point lead at the beginning of the second quarter. End up going down, and shout out to Fred VanVleet hitting a few layups at the end, few left-handed layups at the end of at the end of the second quarter to cash the 2.5. Killian Hayes over 5.5 assists. That cashed. Hits over 6.5 assists. I played both. That cashed as well. Overtime was needed, but that helped for the 6.5. Anthony Simons 21.5 against the Spurs yesterday was good money. And then Tyler Hero over 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He went nuclear last night against the Thunder without Jimmy Butler being in the lineup. So those five cash. Golden State first quarter. Oh man, that was a horrible loss. I was really frustrated with the way that one ended and how it kind of started the night, man. I was like, man, we're in for another, bad beats night, but it turned itself around. So that was good. And then Toronto, Sacramento under 232. I didn't think the Raptors defense would look that bad. It looked pretty bad. Sacramento third game in 4 nights, back to back as well. I know that they were in desperate need for a win, but I didn't think it would happen like that. So that game did not go the way that I thought it would. I thought Toronto would win the game as well, which is why I took them first half minus the 2.5. The Kings' legs would probably run out, but I didn't play the 5, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of stayed off of it. So 2 losses, 5 wins. We'll take the profit and keep it moving on to today. Never too high, never too low, man. You're gonna take your L's. You got to get back up, and hopefully, just bounce back, kind of perform the way we just did. So let's get into the slate for today, man. Like I said, hit the like button for me if you guys can, especially on your way in. I know a lot of people join a few minutes late. Hit the like button, retweet the show, do all that good stuff. I appreciate the support. Grateful for you guys that get up and rock with me early in the morning, man. Absolutely thankful for you guys. So we got a four, what is it? I think it's a 4 game slate today. Yeah, 4 game slate today. I want to touch on all the games. I don't have any official bets in. I don't like the slate as much. It's gonna be some good games, but just because they're good games to watch don't necessarily mean they're good games to bet. Plus, I got some more deep diving to do on these games as well. So I'm gonna try to give you guys what I got on all of them. And I don't have a lot on all of them. I also think make sure you guys are looking at the injury report because this, the manipulation is crazy, man. We don't know who's in, who's out in these games, sometimes until last minute. So make sure you guys are up to date on the injury report as well. But let's start with this Bucks and Grizzlies game, probably the game of the day, at least in my estimation. Drew Holiday has already been ruled out in this one. He's not going to play. They didn't need him against the Warriors the other day. Ja and Steven Adams didn't play in the game on when did they play? They played on Monday. Yeah, they didn't play in the game on Monday. That game was against the Atlanta Hawks. We called that one right. And just looking at this, you look at this Grizzlies team. they're a solid team, especially at home. 18-9 straight up on the season, but they're 12-2 straight up at home, 10-3-1 against the spread at home. The Bucks, they don't play as well on the road. They're only 4-5-2 against the spread, but they do have the second best record in the Eastern Conference. They're 20-7 and 7-4 straight up on the road as well. This Grizzlies team, they're hot right now. You just look at them over their last 10 games. There's 8-2 straight up, 7-2-1. So they have been covering spread. Of course, we know it's a really small spread. If you guys are looking at the screen, you see the 1.5 is what they had it listed at today. So you need the Grizzlies to win a very tight game is what the books are predicting. Also, not too many points. 227, even though I think the total is still a tad bit too high. I want to talk a little bit more about that. The reason why I don't necessarily like the spot in this one for the Bucks is because the Bucks they've kind of been playing everywhere. You look at their last 10 games, they haven't had back-to-back games in the same gym for quite a while. Um, so they went to New York to play the Knicks, beat the Knicks by 6. Then you come back home, play the Lakers, you lose that game, you go to Charlotte, you follow up the game to Charlotte, go to Orlando. Then you come home for one game against Sacramento, then you go back on the road to Dallas, then you make another stop in Houston, then you go home to Golden State and you beat them, and then you're back on the road. So not the greatest spot for these guys. Granted, it's been a day of rest in the last 4 games for them. They haven't last 6 games for them. They've had at least they've had 1 day's rest every single game when you look at this team in their last few games. The one thing that's interesting about the Bucks is that when they go on the road, their offense typically takes a big step back. They score 128 points against Golden State at home, but they go to Houston, which you could argue was a look ahead spot, and only scored 92 points, right? In Dallas, they scored 106 points. But at home against the Kings, they scored 126, right? So just looking at those things, or even in Orlando, they only scored 109. In Charlotte, they scored 105. But at home against the Lakers, they scored 129, right? Um, just interesting road to home splits. Even at the Knicks, they score, 109 points. They win that game, but they only score 109. Against Dallas at home, they score 124, right? So it's just interesting to note like the home road splits. And I got some more on that I wanted to share with you guys as well. So I do think that, Drew Holiday not being there impacts this game, significantly as well. So you look at the Bucks; they're 10-1 to the under on the road, right? I just kind of alluded to that and kind of shared some of those numbers. 27th rated offensively last 2 weeks on the road is what this Milwaukee Bucks team is as well. But they are the best defensive team on the road. They actually rank number 1 in defensive rating the last 2 weeks on the road. They're a plus 3.8 net rating, which ranks second behind only. You never believe this, the New York Knicks actually have the best net rating on the road last 2 weeks, which is crazy. This Bucks team is playing at the 15th fastest pace, or you can say the 15th slowest pace because 15 kind of falls in the middle. So you get you get the best defensive team on the road versus the team that's 27th rated offensively. So they don't bring the offense. I do think that minus Drew Holiday, that's going to slow him down even more as far as being able to score, but his impact on the defensive end is something that I wanted to talk about as well. You look at the Grizzlies on the opposite side. So in short, what I'm saying about the Bucks is that 27th offense, first defense on the road last 2 weeks specifically, plus 3.8 net rating, which ranks second overall. You look on the opposite side, this Grizzlies team last 2 weeks at home, they have the best defensive rating. They also have the 16th rated offense last 2 weeks at home, and they have a plus 12.7 net rating, which ranks fifth. All this is over the last 2 weeks at home. They're also playing at the 4th fastest pace, right? And I talked about them getting healthy. Steven Adams, they're gonna need him to slow down a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Getting job back is gonna be major in this game. So the one thing I was looking at is the under in this game, under 227. I talked about it already, but the Bucks 10-1 to the under in their away games, and this one really is just going to be dictated on pace. If the Bucks get into a run and gun, then I can see it going over because, like I said, the Grizzlies are playing at the 4th fastest pace over the last 2 weeks at home. But the Bucks 10-1 to the under in their away games, 2-0 to the under when they're an away dog as well. Um, One thing that kind of kept me off of not putting the ticket in already, because I know that I feel like the total's gonna move one way or another in this one, is that the Bucks, they're allowing 5 more points per game with Drew Holiday out than when he's in. So they're giving up only 106 points in games that Drew Holiday plays in, but they're giving up 111 without Drew Holiday in. I just kind of talked about, how well the Memphis Grizzlies defense has been. So to me, it just still kind of feels like it's a tad bit too many points, man. This team is 2-1 straight up and against the spread, and 2-1 to the over as well when Drew Holiday is out, but Giannis is in, and that's going to be the situation today. So, not sure how I want to attack this game. Like I said, it'll probably be from a total. I could definitely see, either one of these teams kind of winning this game. The Bucks take these games seriously when they go on the road and they play, upper level competition as well. Uh, they just beat the Dallas Mavericks by 1 in a game that they probably shouldn't have won. We know how difficult it is. I'm not looking to fade the Memphis Grizzlies. So to me, it just kind of feels like it's got to be Grizzlies or nothing. You look at this Grizzlies team. This will be their 5th straight home game, last home game as well of a 5-game home stand before they go to OKC. They play OKC on Saturday, in OKC. So definitely not looking to fade this team. Rested team. They haven't played in 2 days. Before that, they had 2 days off before that as well. So, getting job back. It's got to be Grizzlies or nothing, but I think I want to look more towards the side. Also, revenge game for the Bucks because Memphis did beat them 127-102 last year, and Milwaukee beat them as well 126-114 in Milwaukee. So kind of seems like the home team typically wins their games if you just go back throughout the series. So those are notes that I got for you guys there. Let me see what y'all saying in the chat before I move on to the next one. Top of the morning to the guys, man. JR Sports, Frank, Mad Stoney, Bash Bros. Bitsy said, yo, Chris, look at the Rockets first half, Clippers full game spot. What you got? Yeah, we're going to definitely get to those games, man. Shout out to Mike. What's up, Mike? Anthony always in here in the morning rocking with me. Derek said Bulls and Raptors immediately on the ban list. Yeah, hey, bro, I talked about it yesterday. I know it might have been you, Derek, that talked about. Somebody asked me what I was thinking about the Bulls. I don't bet on the Bulls, bro. They not the team that I feel like I can trust. I think I might have backed them one time early this season. I just don't like the way that they play basketball. They're not a team I want to back. Shout out to whoever called the Pistons plus 3.5 yesterday. Heard it on the Spaces. Yeah, I played the Pistons plus 3.5. Personal play for me, but I felt like they was getting too many points. I talked about Charlotte. I actually played them plus 4.5 after LaMelo got rolled in. Pistons, I think 7-1-1 ATS last 9 games as a road dog. So definitely a good play yesterday. Bulls shouldn't have been favored last game by that many points. I agree with that, man, Stoney. They also just don't have anyone to match up with Julius Randle. You just need Julius Randle to be able to make some shots, and he did. LJ, what's going on, my brother? Another good night from you. Absolutely. I know you got some cash last night. Knicks first half train keeps rolling. Yeah, Brian, they the best first half team in the NBA, surprisingly enough. Typically, their offense kind of reverts back to average in the second half. So if you're playing the Knicks, you want to take them first half. They've been cashing. Stoney said Utah should be laying 2.5, not catching 2.5. Let's talk about that game. Let's get there. So I was trying to get to all the comments. Y'all got a lot in this joint early this morning, man. But yeah, hit the like button for me if you guys can. I was trying to keep up with all the comments, man. I appreciate you guys for being here. Like I said, let's keep going though, because we do got a couple more games to get into before I hop off of here. So this Heat and the Rockets game, I know I see a couple comments already. I see LJ talking about his Houston Rockets in the comment section as well. So looking at this game, man, like, first, I think it's important to know that I'm not playing the game until I absolutely know, who's going to be in, who's going to be out, right? So yesterday, after the game, I think Spoelstra said, the Heat did they lost last night to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Is that correct? Did they lose? I know it was a 2-point game. I don't know if they won or lost. I want to say they lost last night. No, they won. I'm sorry. They won last night. So the Heat win by 2 in OKC. last night, 110-118. That under definitely cashed. Shout out to my guy Ski. I know he was on the under in that game. I should have rocked with him. It opened at 227, was all the way down to 223, but it only finished at 218. So shout out to Ski there. But look, getting back to this game, 4.5 points for the Rockets at home. So I definitely have the banner wrong. Let me fix that because I don't want people to think that the Rockets are actually favored in this game tonight when they're not. If you listen to the show yesterday, towards the end of the show, the Crispy Cap and NBA show, I talked about the Rockets actually getting 5 points. They were getting 5 points at home. I think it was only available on DraftKings when the line came out. Now you see this line moving, right? The line is moved all the way down to, and if you know when you're really sharp, you know that a guy like Spoelstra has the potential to rest some of his guys on the second night of a back-to-back. We, talking about that for a while. Very meaningless game as well, right? So this line is actually all the way down to 3.5. Money's coming in on the Houston Rockets in this spot, man. Money's also coming in on the under, and I would agree with both. So looking at this game, Victor Oladipo, Kyle Lowry, and Bam Adebayo are all uncertain. Jimmy Butler didn't play last night, so I do expect him to return. But you look at this Rockets team, man. I've talked about it before. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of back the Suns early in the game on on Tuesday. Get in and get out. I took them first quarter. I was wrong. Not looking to bet against the Rockets right now, especially while they're at home on this homestand. They played multiple games. I'm not even 100% sure how many, but I know that they've been just balling and balling at the crib specifically. Let me see. Let me check that real quick. So the Rockets have played. So we did third straight home game, and they got 3 more after this. So 6 games at home altogether. You look at this Rockets team, they're 15-12 against the spread on the season, surprisingly enough. They're also 8-3 against the spread at home. So they're covering at the crib. Covering. If you place 11 bets and you hit 8, you're doing pretty good for yourself. So 8-3 at home. They've won 6 of their last 10. And they've won 6 of their last 10. So they're 6-4 against the spread and 6-4 straight up. They're also, this is the most interesting thing about the Rockets. They're rated 8th defensively over the last 2 weeks at home. They're the 8th rated defense. I would never thought I've ever heard that in my life. The Rockets are actually moving their feet, playing extremely hard, getting steals, getting the passing lanes, boxing out, getting rebounds, and rated 8th defensively last 2 weeks. Offensively, 18th. They have a plus 6.8 net rating at the crib last 2 weeks specifically. You look at this Miami team, 6-8 on this ATS on the road. They're 3-6-1 against the spread last 10. They're actually 3rd rated defensively last 2 weeks, specifically on the road. Last rated offense on the road as well over the last 2 weeks. They have a minus 4.2 net rating on the road specifically. You look at this Rockets team, they're 10-1 ATS at home this season in the first half, and I think that's what I saw that 10-1. I know I saw LJ said that he saw a 9-1-1. So, just depending on where you got the number. But the Rockets, 10-1 against the spread in the first half. I think that's the bet, man. You look at the other side, Miami, they're 7-7 ATS first half. Also, you get them on the second night of a back-to-back. So I haven't placed any bets yet, but it's something I'm going to look a little bit more into. 10-1 just kind of stands out to me. I also feel like the under is in play for this game. And I couldn't talk anybody off back in the Rockets, especially if you got some Rockets money in your pocket because you've been cashing with them. So I wouldn't be looking to necessarily play the Heat, but like I said, with the Heat being, what did I say? 3rd rated defense last 2 weeks on the road, and the Rockets being the 8th defense at home last 2 weeks, I see an under type of game. I definitely see an under type of game here. Like I said, nothing that I have in my pocket yet, but I like the under a lot. If I had to pick a side, I'd probably take the Rockets plus the 3.5, plus the 4.5, if you can get the 4.5. Next game. Didn't really look too much into this one. Pelicans and the Jazz. It's going to be a rematch. I typically try to stay away from those games. What is interesting, though, is that, the Jazz won that game the other day. Pelicans were coming off that long homestand at the crib. I think it was 5-6 games in a row at home. And then I talked about, role players not playing as well on the road, man. And you see a guy like Trey Murphy. I think he finished with 0 points on like 0 for 8 shooting. Those are the shots that you make at the crib. At the Target Center, but you can't make those at the Smoothie King Center where the Pelicans play. You don't always make those shots on the road, right? The role players don't play as well. Now you're coming into this game Herb Jones has one game underneath his belt because he did play in the game last week, but we know offensively he's not, extremely gifted. He's more so in there for his defense. Even though I will say he is developing offensively. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but you don't have Jose Alvarado. I think he's out with a hip contusion. Brandon Ingram still isn't back. Like he's dealing with that foot injury, I think it is. So it's Zion and Jonas Valanciunas and CJ McCollum, right? Is that enough to take down this Jazz team that we know that the Jazz function a lot better at home as a dog, right? They were 4-1 against the spread and straight up as a home dog. Excuse me. And I don't have this listed on the screen correctly either. I put that on there wrong, so let me change that as well. The Jazz are not laying 2 points in this spot because that is extremely significant. The Jazz are actually catching 2.5 points, and that's back to my point. The Jazz, they were 4-1 against the spread and straight up coming into the game, the game that these two teams just played 2 days ago, against the spread when they're a home dog. So that 4-1 goes to 5-1 because they were a home dog laying points in that game. Now you get them back at the crib, same environment, right? Do the Pelicans have enough? Can CJ and Brandon Ingram get together enough offense? Because one thing we know about the Jazz is they're going to score points. They're one of the best scoring teams. I think north of 120 points at home is what they're scoring. Defense typically takes a step back at the crib. I had it written down. I want to say they're like 17th, 19th, something like that defensively last 2 weeks at home. So for me in this game, it just kind of feels like the Jazz is probably again the right play. I don't think that they're a better team, but I don't trust the Pelicans necessarily on the road. I don't trust don't trust the Pelicans on the road without Brandon Ingram, without Jose Alvarado, who they'll need on the defensive end to, be a pest around guys like Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, who had a bad game in his last game. He's probably going to bounce back tonight. Guys like Colin Sexton, right? You need somebody like Jose Alvarado. You need Brandon Ingram to be back. So I know that the Jazz just won, but I'd be looking for the Jazz to kind of cover again. The Pelicans have lost twice now. They lost earlier to start the season. I talked about that game on October the 13th. And then that game went to overtime. It was their first game of the season at home in the Smoothie King Center. Then they go on the road and they lose again. So that's what I got for you guys in that game. Like I said, I got to run some more stuff, kind of look at it. But that's just based off the eye test. To me, that kind of tells me that it could be another Jazz spot. Maybe you just kind of play totals in that game because both teams are going to play with pace for sure. Couldn't talk anybody off Zion props either because I think he had 27, which his point prop was 26.5 last game. He cashed it. They don't have a big body. They're still allowing the most points in the paint. So that's what I got for you guys there. Last game real quick because I didn't realize I've been talking for 23 minutes on 4 games. And it didn't even get to the 4th one yet. Suns and the Clippers. So Clippers laying a 1.5 in this one. Suns have been absolutely atrocious recently. You see the total dropping. I would agree with the movement there. It opened at 220 is what you guys see on the screen. Clippers opened at 1.5 point favorites. They're now up to 2 point favorites, 2.5 at some spots as well. Phoenix is been god awful. They are 1-6, I think, since not this Sunday that just passed, but the Sunday before. Been getting smacked up too. Lost to Boston. You lose 2 games to the Pelicans. Then you go from the Pelicans to Houston. You lose that game as well. Now you got to take on a Clippers team that's actually looked pretty well recently. Clippers are rounding into form. Cam Payne is also listed as out. DeAndre Ayton is listed as questionable. Devin Booker, who's missed the last few games, is also listed as questionable with a hamstring injury after getting his high school jersey retired over the weekend in Houston. In New Orleans. Kawhi is scheduled to sit out in this game. I think that's important to mention if people didn't know that. So the Clippers will have everybody minus Kawhi. They also get John Wall back, who didn't play yesterday. To me, this is a wait-and-see game. You got to wait and see if Aiden is going to play. You got to wait and see if Devin Booker is going to play. The line is moving already towards the under. For the Clippers, this will be not only second night of a back-to-back, but a 3rd and 4th for them as well. All games at home since they returned on that home trip. They got the Boston Celtics out the way earlier. Of course, they took care of the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. So it'd be a wait and see game for me. Not anything I'm rushing to the window to bet right now. Do need to, do a little more homework as well. I do think that PG, I always talk about him playing better when he does not have Kawhi there. I think PG probably be in play, even though it is the second night of a back-to-back. Phoenix got to come out here with something, man. You can't keep getting beat up by, by every single team in the league. They were first. They were the first rated team, had the top record in the Western Conference, and slowly but surely they're all the way down to, I think it's 5th or 6th now, and it's happening quick because you keep losing games. Like I said, 1-6 in their last 7 games. So that, that's my thoughts on that game, man. And that's my thoughts on pretty much the slate for today. I do want to dive into some player props, especially since we hit on those yesterday. Try to dissect these games a tad bit more before I give out anything official. But as always, man, hit the like button for me on the way out. I appreciate you guys for being here. Definitely going, have a lot more to share this evening, 5:15 Eastern Standard Time for the Crispy Captain NBA show. Best of luck to you guys today on all your action. Now, in the show like this, man, none of this is financial consultation. This is all theory. It's logic, eye test, queries, SDQL, trends, all those good things, man. Bet with your head, not over it. Best of luck to you guys today. Be back at 5:15.